Welcome back to the David Douglas Show. On today's episode, we'll be covering the lettuce industry, first diving into their deep, dark history of lettuce production in the US, then exploring how lettuce came about from wild lettuce to the variations we have today, and finally looking at the two largest farms in the US that produce 90% of the lettuce. This is the David Douglas Show. Come to the scene with me, guys. Join me on a journey. Beep, beep, beep. You wake up, you look around. You're in a hospital. You think to yourself, what's going on? Why am I here? And then the doctor, hello there. You are in the hospital. You got E. coli from massive amounts of lettuce consumption. I got E. coli. Oh, I guess I had some amount of lettuce. You were eating Subway 3 times a day, sir. Sir, the employees, they let me know what you were doing. You were going in at 11 a.m. and saying it was breakfast time, 1 p.m. was lunch, and then coming back for dinner. I don't know if, I went to Subway. I just don't know if I went. I guess I went a couple times, but I don't know. They let me know what you were doing. They told me on the 4th day you printed out a Photoshop food pyramid, and the bottom tier was just a picture of you holding a meatball sub and the word breakfast written next to it. The meatball sub is good. I'll admit the meatball sub is good. It's a little hazy right now. I just woke up. I don't know if, sir, you consume the equivalent of a head of lettuce and a pint of olive oil and vinegar every day. I don't know why you're saying this. I don't know why you're going and saying all these things. It doesn't sound like something I would do. Sir, you know when they kept calling you Derej? Derej, yeah, the Subway employees. Derej, yeah, that was like our nickname, right? Sir, Derej is just Jared spelled backwards. They were calling you that because you were getting so fat that it was a reverse version of the Subway man, Jared, who lost all that weight and then was quickly canceled. I don't know why you're doing this to me. That's my recountation of you getting hospitalized for getting E. coli from lettuce. Because at the end of the day, I watched the documentary, The Dirty Truth, which inspired this episode, and I found out that lettuce and leafy greens are one of the more common ways that E. coli spreads in the US. E. coli is a horrific disease that can cause a liver damage, cause you to get hospitalized. And what that documentary explored was the dark side of the lettuce industry, where 2 states control 98% of the lettuce production and have captured the regulatory bodies of the government through lobbying to ensure that while there are government regulations on the lettuce farms, and there are dairy farms in the same areas that have regulation, there's nothing that regulates what happens when the fecal matter from the dairy farms runs off the farms and spreads into the water content of the area. So let's take a quick look at one of these dairy farms so we get an idea of how this all began, how you woke up in a hospital with E. coli like more than 100 people did several different years in the US. Let's take a look at one of these farms. This is one of the dairy farms here. And you can see they just have masses of pasture where these cows are. And then in the distance, you'll see all these green circles. What are those? Lettuce farms. So let's look. What do they have to write about these feedlots? Oh, what a beautiful name. The Yuma feedlot is a 105,000 head feed yard completed in October 1987. Five Rivers Yuma Feedlot is a proud member of the city of Yuma and the surrounding Yuma County communities. And it was sold in 1987 for $7 billion to Montfort operation. The Montfort operation was sold to ConAgra. What a beautiful corporate name. So imagine you have these acres and acres of farmland in Yuma, and the cows have waste. And then imagine just down the road, one of these lettuce farms. The water that is moving through the land, it's collecting the cow shit and it's moving it along, and then the water that they're using for irrigation to spray on these crops, it's getting picked up from those same rivers and it's getting sprayed all over the lettuce. And here's the thing about E. coli. You can wash something 3 different times with industrial washers that are very powerful. Once the E. coli is on there, there's a chance it still survives. And so that's what this documentary, The Dirty Truth on Netflix, explored. It explored really what happened to these people who got E. coli from going out to eat or going out to get a salad somewhere, a prepared greeny leaf, and woke up in the hospital with kidney failure. And it followed a lawyer who was suing these farms to try to get some more control over what happened because, like I said, the USDA regulates cow farms, the FDA regulates lettuce farms, and no one regulates what leaves the cow farms and goes to the lettuce farms. There's just no body of the government that's doing it. And so in 2018, 210 cases of E. coli happened from a lettuce outbreak that killed 5 people and 27 had kidney failure. In 2018, 62 people grew ill from an outbreak that was linked to the Salinas Valley farms, the other major farm outside of Yuma. In 2019, 188 people got sick from E. coli from a lettuce outbreak, and 16 cases of kidney failure from another Salinas Valley outbreak. Salmonella is also possible. 111 people were ill in 2021 due to, once again, lettuce-related health crises. And so, just to put it in perspective, this is not something that happens with all other, industries. I mean, there's always a risk for food safety, but lettuce is away and above all of those other places because of this irrigation issue. And the other thing that's really dark about it is that the lettuce industry, like many other industries, has come together to lobby the government. They pay politicians to make sure that federal agriculture dollars stay coming their way and that they are not held responsible or extra regulation isn't added. And I think a lot of us, when we think of the word lobbying or regulatory capture, we're imagining these dark alleyway meetings in DC. You're in a steakhouse, everybody's smoking, there's a Russian spy in the corner, and you meet with this grotesque-looking lobbyist who's greasy from all the money he's taken and given to various politicians and lined his own pockets, and they shake on a deal where they collude to screw over the American people, to poison our food supply. But the sad reality is, I think, even more dystopian. When an industry self-regulates, which is something they'll do to tell politicians we don't need government regulation, we are self-policing, they'll pay politicians, and they'll also tell them, hey, we're doing all this extra work. And when they do that, this is the most insidious form of regulatory capture. They don't do it in back alleyways. They do it with a smile on their face, with a website like this one from the LGMA, the Leafy Greens Marketing Agreement, which I think is a perfect way. Just the name alone, it invokes 2 different things. First and foremost, it has the word marketing in it. It is forward saying, even though they are telling the government and people that this is a agreement to help food safety, to make sure they don't need to be regulated by the government, they put the word marketing in this because that's what it's really about. It's really about selling lettuce, about making more money, not about food safety. There's a saying, it's like, if someone tells you something, believe them, right? If a girl tells you, hey, I see you more as a friend, believe her. You don't need to convince her. You don't need to try to form some scenario in your head where you guys still can go out. If the lettuce industry is telling you they're in a marketing agreement with each other, that's what they're about. They're not about regulating. They're not about safety. They're about making sure they can sell more and more lettuce. So they put together this beautiful website with a smile on their face. And the other thing that's important about the LGMA is that it uses an acronym, right? It has marketing in the word, but it uses that acronym in a way of kind of whitewashing, corporatizing these hundreds of people that got sick, that were hospitalized, people that died, now are condensed into a McKinsey-esque acronym, LGMA. At the heart of LGMA is a set of food safety practices that are implemented on leafy greens farms and verified through government audit. Working with the university and industry scientists, food safety expert, government officials, farmers, shippers, and processors, the leafy greens farming community created this unique science-based food safety system to protect public health by reducing potential sources of contamination and establishes a culture of food safety on the farm. The year after this was started was that outbreak that got 5 people killed, to give you some perspective. That's what this industry is about. Like many others in America, let's not kid ourselves that the pharmaceutical or any of these industries don't do the same exact thing. They will, with a smile, with a cheery corporate page and a concise LGMA-like acronym, look you in the face and tell you that they're working on your safety, while really what they're doing is making sure they are getting the least amount of actual accountability. They'd rather have a government official come one time on a farm on a schedule they make than have random searches at any time that could actually hold them accountable. A lot of these things, and you'll see it in like the fashion industry, when they have these sort of programs, they are making sure the companies are in control of when people are looking at them. It's like a North Korean style tourist visit, right? You don't show up randomly to North Korea. You show up when they tell you you can, and you see exactly what you want them to see. They know the auditors are coming on September 30th, and they're going to make sure that everything's on the straight and narrow. Other days of the week, we can't say the same thing, and we don't care, because we need to present the image of food safety. Because at the end of the day, what's in the acronym? Marketing agreement. Not safety agreement, marketing agreement. So we're about the presentation of safety, not actual safety. So how did we get to this point where we have 2 farms controlling 90% of the lettuce and leafy greens production in the US, where hundreds of people are getting E. coli every other year from eating a salad or lettuce on a burger, and the government is not holding these farms accountable? It starts, like many American stories, with a concentration of industry. To have a group that can have such control over an industry, you have to consolidate power. And over time, in the natural capitalistic way, the lettuce industry was concentrated into 2 big sources in Yuma and the Salinas Valley. They aren't 2 farms in the sense that they are owned by 2 companies individually. There are multiple growers in both of these areas, but they all are in the same spot. They're all driving distance from each other. They all work together. They all know each other. And they found out that in these particular areas, in Salinas Valley and Yuma, you can grow year-round. Salinas Valley is south of San Francisco, and they have a really temperate climate with really rich soil, and they can have 2 growing seasons. And in Yuma Valley, they have so much sun, as long as they are able to pump in water, they can grow essentially year round. And they are pumping in a lot of water because 1 pound of lettuce takes 13 gallons of water to make. And you might be saying, wow, these must be water rich places, right? Incorrect. Especially Yuma is one of the driest places on earth. And there are times when people start looking at water shortages in California in drought moments and they go, where is all our water going? And one of the largest places it is going is to the Yuma County agriculture system where they're growing all this lettuce. It's a $3 billion industry as of 2020, which is the most of any vegetable industry, the leafy greens. And the simple fact is Americans love to put lettuce on some of our most common food items, salads, burgers, and sandwiches. And we have no sight of stopping that, no matter what is going on in the industry. So let's take it back to the history a little bit, the origins of lettuce. Originally, it was farmed by Egyptians as a wild plant. Typically, they would be eating stalks and seeds. And then later on, edible leaf varieties were cultivated. And in Egypt, the plant was also associated with sexual stamina. Not exactly the same today. You don't see a guy eating lettuce and go, oh, he's going to put the work down. That's not exactly the thought when you see a Patagonia vest wearing sweet green addict. Not exactly. And this is what wild lettuce looks like, which is kind of interesting. It kind of looks almost like a dandelion shrub, you know? It kind of looks like a little, just like a little thing you might see on the side of the road and never think of. That's what it originally looked like. And then they were cultivated. They were spread to Greece and eventually Europe. And of course, now they're in the US. So let's look at a few of these lettuce varieties here. Let's pull up this little image here. The two that we're most common with these days are romaine, obviously we're all familiar, and iceberg, the classic chopped burger or sandwich, kind of dense, almost cabbage-like situation. And then there's all these other little varietals as well. Some of these aren't lettuces, by the way. Some of these are other plants. Here's iceberg in its beauty and all of it. This may be the most corporate looking of the lettuce varieties. It is truly a ball of essentially nothing but water. And it used to be by far the most popular in the U.S. The romaine has been surging back and is now the most popular. And then, of course, we have butterhead. Butterhead is the beautiful, sexy, soft leaves they use. I think Shake Shack uses these. Fancy restaurants sometimes use these. And it gives that kind of luscious mouthfeel. I will say it's one of the few varieties of lettuce that I think brings value to the table, as they say. In business. In business. Then we have Summer Crisp. Here's Summer Crisp for us. Terrible. My least favorite variety. It's what they put in the mixed greens when you get that tub of mixed greens. And I think it's the lettuce equivalent of giving someone a gift card on their birthday. Technically, it's a gift. Technically, this is lettuce. But no one's excited about that. No one's ever been excited about getting a Summer Crisp, a mixed greens bag. It's just... You're just shoveling that in. You're just, I gotta lose weight. I gotta make a salad and pack it and bring it to my office and just, it's $4.69 for a big tub of this at Whole Foods, whatever, man. You're just shoveling. You become the dairy cows themselves, in a sense of the word. Then we have Celtis. Celtis is a stalk focused variety here that is used most in Asian cooking, which I think is pretty cool. Look at it. It does look like it would be good to kind of slice up and put in a stir fry. And the last most common, there's other varietals, but the last most common one, the big 7, is the oil seed, which are I wasn't able to find a picture of, but are grown primarily for their seeds to turn into, I guess, things like sunflower seed oil and other things like that. God bless them. So those are the most common forms of lettuce that we see that we're developing, that we're growing in these horrific conditions. And if we're going to talk about lettuce and we're going to talk about where they show up in restaurants, I think we have to cover the most important salad of all, the Caesar salad. Because the story of Caesar salad, actually everything about this episode is extremely American. But the story of Caesar salad in itself is extremely American. It was created by Caesar Cardini in Tijuana, Mexico, which you might be saying, is that an American story if it's created in Mexico? Well, the reason why Caesar was down in Mexico when he lived in San Diego was because he wanted to avoid prohibition laws at his restaurant, Caesar's Palace. So he went over to Tijuana and he basically was advertising to Americans, come on over across the border from San Diego, all his buddies over in San Diego, and come down to Caesar's Palace in Tijuana and get yourself some liquor and get yourself some food. And one day he was mixing it up in the kitchen. They were low on ingredients and he smashed together these things and out came the famous Caesar salad. And then it became a staple item for him. They prepared it tableside and it became this kind of hot, sexy thing in California where it's like, ooh, go down to Caesar's Palace and get myself this hot new salad item. This is like 1920s. And it was prepared. One of the reasons why it was considered this kind of fashionable food item is it was prepared tableside and it was served with whole romaine leaves, larger than your hand. And it was expected to be eaten with your hand. So just imagine these Southern California high-end type people. They were going, let's go down. Let's avoid prohibition and get some ridiculous salad at Caesar's Palace. In 1935, it got global acclaim by being named the best dish the U.S. had made in the last 50 years by a French cuisine magazine. Which is pretty funny in retrospect, because now Caesar salad is like, it's everywhere. It's, you can get a Caesar sauce at, a fast food restaurant. So it's funny to think that it was like avant-garde winning French awards back in 1935. And now we're going to do something I haven't done on the show yet. We're going to look at some TikToks of people who are making some creations on TikTok. They're showing off some Caesar salad creations. So let's take a look at this. Oh, you can barely see that. This is a Caesar salad wrap, and the gentleman that filming is known for filming Caesar salad wraps. This kind of went viral. And what you're seeing on screen here is someone in Boca Raton, Florida, struggling to fold up the most loaded wrap you've ever seen. They are needing to push, to pry, to stretch tortilla to get this sucker filled to the brim in a way that you didn't realize was possible. And this beautiful man right here who spends many hours reviewing solely chicken Caesar salad wraps, but he does review other things, is here showing it off. And if we go back to the beginning, we can see a close-up of this thing. And what the audio listeners can imagine right now is, imagine the largest Chipotle burrito with and wall-to-wall chicken Caesar salad to the point where you can't even see the wrap. It's stretched so thin, all you see is just pure, loaded up to the brim Caesar. And I just want to give a shout out to this guy who tries every chicken Caesar wrap he have. Here's another video he did where he reviews the 10 best chicken Caesar wraps he had this year. That's how many chicken Caesar wraps this man, give him a shout out, the Eric Hammer is doing. And you gotta love a guy who finds a niche Now he does other things, but he leaned in. He said, chicken Caesar salad wraps are hot this year. I'm going to lean in. I'm going to find the buffalo chicken one. I'm going to find the one that's griddled on the side. So shout out Mr. Eric here. What's next? We're getting freakier than that. Let's look at the chicken Caesar salad crunch wrap. So this is incredible creation over here from some restaurant called Curbside. They make a chicken Caesar salad. They take a giant tortilla, cheese down, fried bread, chicken Caesar salad, more cheese, soft tortilla, wrap the rest of the tortilla around it, grill it. The only question with this one is like warm chicken Caesar, but that cheese is oozing on both sides, and then maybe that insulates the cold salad, or maybe you don't care that it's a warm chicken Caesar salad wrap. This is the sort of TikTok creation that you can't look away from, but you're also not sure if you would enjoy. And of course, we have to take it to the next level of something that's something you see and you go, I don't know if I'd enjoy that. And then there's something else you see, excuse me, and you go, I don't think this is for me. This is TikTok taking it too far. And what we're looking at now is a chicken Caesar salad pizza, which now we're like, what does the word pizza mean? Can we just say flatbread at this point? And the thing that makes this a no from me, and God bless this creator, I'm sure she's a lovely lady. The ground chicken is what makes up the pizza crust, which it just is looking, she's spreading a sort of chicken paste around a pan right now. And there's something about that just makes me feel like we've lost our way as society. That perhaps God is going to smite us down again. That he looks upon us and our disgusting cow shit-filled lettuce farms. And then he says, why? Why are we doing this? What could possibly be the reason that we're abusing the environment for this plant that has almost no nutritional value and no flavor? And then he turns and looks and sees this chicken Caesar salad pizza being created. And he goes, it's time to smite some people. It is time to bring rain upon the desert and lightning bolts and thunder, for we have forsaken the land. God bless everyone involved in the lettuce industry. And we're going to go to a quick break, but when we get back, we're going to dive into what I think is the most American city in the country. We're going to have a salute to the desert town of Yuma, Arizona, that produces an ungodly amount of lettuce for the U.S. Today's episode of The David Douglas Show is brought to you by SoldiersOnly.com. From the same folks that brought you FarmersOnly.com, SoldiersOnly.com is a revolutionary new website where everyone you will match with will be a member of the U.S. Armed Forces. And they just announced, and they wanted me to let you know this, that now you can actually filter by branch of the military. So if those Navy boys aren't doing it for you, you can actually filter so it's just the Air Force guys riding in the sky, pretentious as hell, or perhaps you want a Delta Force member. They're hard to get. There's not many, but you can now see them on soldiersonly.com. A couple other fun facts they wanted to let you know about. The rate of divorce and domestic violence is much higher in the military, but everyone can do a lot of push-ups. So that is a trade-off that you get on soldiersonly.com. The other thing they wanted to let you guys know about is that they are considering adding border agents as a separate part of the app, but, kind of related. I know, they've been hearing your demands. A lot of you guys just have a thing for those border boys. And so we just wanted to thank them for sponsoring the episode. If you download Soldiers Only on the App Store or go to soldiersonly.com and use code The David Douglas Show or TDDS, you can get 10% off your first month of premium, which, of course, on soldiersonly.com, we call lieutenant rank. So, yeah, please visit. The links are all in the description and find yourself a military man. Welcome back. It's time to start diving in to the two parts of the US that produce 90% of our lettuce. Sorry, 98% of our lettuce. The first place we're going to explore is what I think is a God-forsaken land, Yuma, Arizona. Let's take a looky at the most American place on the planet. We need to bring this up on the big screen. This is Yuma, Arizona. A land of the free, a land of the brave, a desert on the very border of California. It's known for its landscapes, its access to the Colorado River, and for its massive lettuce farms. It's also sunny 332 days of the year, and on 175 days of the year, the average high temperature is 90 degrees or more. Half of the year, the temperature in the middle of the day gets to more than 90 degrees. Think about that. Between April and October, the average high of the temperature is over 100 degrees from April to October. Give that a think over for a second. Now, after hearing that, you might think to yourself, why would anyone ever move there? But you're not forward thinking enough. You're not realizing that the vast amount of sunlight and the access to the Colorado River makes it an immense place to grow lettuce. Now, how are they growing this lettuce? Well, they have immense water usage, and it's causing some problems, frankly. But let's look at their water usage here. Let's take a little lookies. Oh, we're going to have to zoom in a little bit because we're looking at a little graph here. And what we're looking at is millions of gallons a day in Yuma County. And 97% of that water is going towards the agriculture. 3% is going to municipal. So that gives you an idea of how they're using their water in Yuma County. And 1 acre of lettuce anywhere is going to need 700 to 1 million gallons of water a year. And they only have one source of irrigation, the Colorado River. And as I said earlier in the episode, there's sometimes issues with water access in California specifically, but also Arizona. There are droughts. There are other things that need water. Power plants, chip makers need a lot of water. I know Intel was building a plant in Arizona for a while. But lucky for Yuma, they have two things going for them. One is that they have these quote-unquote senior rights to water usage, aka they've been deemed by the government as more important than other things to get water. And the farms also get federal funding. So they started getting pressure from the federal government about water usage because there's been challenges with water usage. There's a limited supply and lots of people need it for different things. But, of course, they've done a great job ensuring that the needs of the farms are put first over municipalities, other businesses. And so they have done a very good job making sure that in Yuma County, their water is not at risk of being taken away. And that's really the story of Yuma, Arizona. It's a place that really shouldn't exist, that is using tons of water to make lettuce to fit the demands of the American people. The other thing about Yuma, Arizona, is it does have a huge population of snowbirds. It has a huge population of snowbirds, and it has a military base, a huge Marine base as well. And those combination of those three things, I think that's what makes Yuma, Arizona the most American place on the planet. Think about it. It's got agriculture, it's got military, and it's abusing natural resources to meet the demands of an insatiable American consumer need. What is more American than that? And that's why I want to take a moment to propose Congress relocates to Yuma, Arizona, specifically to this location right here. I want Congress to relocate to the Walmart Supercenter in the center of Yuma, Arizona, because Yuma, Arizona is the most American place on earth. They're abusing natural resources to meet the demands of the insatiable American consumer. They have military. They have boomer generation snowbirds that fly in. The national anthem should play every day at 9 a.m. Congress should meet there at the Walmart Supercenter to get in touch with the real American people, to enact brave laws, like having Amazon Prime try out its private drone police force on the community of Yuma, Arizona. Healthcare companies can test Alzheimer drugs on the snowbirds and vaccines on the migrant farm workers. And I'd like to add a new factory. I want to add something new to the skyline. Alongside the congressional meeting halls of the Walmart Supercenter, I want a new factory for another a great American institution, the healthcare industry. I think they need a new factory, a place that has it all. If this is really going to be the center of America, as I propose, they need a factory that produces OxyContin, Lexapro, and Ozempic. The fat, the sad, and the in pain, all taken care of in the beautiful, sunny lands of Yuma, Arizona. Every resident can get one for free or choose the Yuma Surprise. Every morning, a pill is delivered to you. I know we got to get the Ozempic down to pill form, but once that's set, every morning, one of 3 pills can come to your door as a resident of Yuma, Arizona, in the center and the capital of the U.S. And it could be any one of those 3. You could get Lexapro, Oxytocin, or Ozempic. We call that the Yuma Surprise. And if Congress is brave enough to meet in the Walmart Supercenter, I think in 2025, by the end of the year, they can spread the Yuma Surprise to be available nationwide by July 4th. God bless this great state. God bless this great country. We have it all. We have the sun. We have the abuse of nature. We have the greatest military on earth. And if they would just listen to me and reposition Congress to the Walmart Supercenter in Yuma, Arizona to connect with the true American values, they could get everyone in America, every morning of every day, a Yuma Surprise pill of an SSRI, Ozempic, or an opiate. And if that doesn't bring our country together, God, I don't know what is. God bless Yuma, Arizona. A desert landscape where Walmart, and I've driven through Yuma, Arizona, and it is a stark thing to get through because you are driving in the desert, often on your way to San Diego or somewhere else in California, and you're seeing sands and dunes and cactuses and wastelands, and all of a sudden, your eyes, you do like a kind of a double take blink because you're startled amongst this vast sea of brown desert, flashes of green, an oasis perhaps some sort of magical spring land. No, what you're seeing in the distance are the fields and fields of lettuce that stretch beyond the eyesight. Millions and millions of pounds of lettuce being grown every day without stop, fueled by migrant workers, fueled by the insatiable American need, And as you drive through, what do you see else? Just every fast food chain you've ever laid eyes on. Chick-fil-A, Raising Cane's, Shake Shack, In-N-Out Burger. They're all there. They all come to the center of America to bless the people of Yuma, Arizona with the most processed food you can imagine. And can you imagine the dating scene in Yuma, Arizona? You've got Marines, a huge military base. You've got farmers, and you've got snowbird 80-year-old men. Imagine getting on Hinge. I would imagine being on Hinge as a woman in Yuma, Arizona, and seeing those as your options. You'd have a new game. You wouldn't call it Fuck, Marry, Kill anymore. You'd call it Marine, Farmer, or Geriatric. You'd be sitting around talking to your girlfriends like, this is what we got. This is what we have to deal with. And I did want to take a moment to read something I wrote. A poem, but some would call it a prayer. A prayer for Yuma. Let us clasp our hands in prayer for the women of Yuma and their precarious dating lives. This morning, I chose between cappuccino, flat white, and espresso, all good options to start my day, but the women of Yuma, I fear their choice is less so. Do they date a military man, a Marine named Brock, who does push-ups in bed and pushes down his feelings? Then there's Alex, the farmer. He works the land, doesn't he? Or just the migrants who do the work? Will he act the same way in air and time? No, let's flap our wings to a snowbird named John. His house is large, his car is nice, but 80 sure is a hard pill to swallow. While there are flat whites in both, I'd rather be choosing a coffee than a date in Yuma, Arizona. God bless the women of Yuma, Arizona. The other farm. Okay, so a few more things about Yuma, Arizona, and then I'll move on. I'll be quick. It's where 90% of the leafy greens are grown in the winter months, because that's the other thing that makes it unique, is they have sun and they have warmth when nobody else does. So that's when they really pop off, as the kids would say. And it's also one of the two places that has all of those horrific problems with irrigation, with dairy farms. We looked at that huge dairy farm, the Steer Feedlot. God, what a name. That's how I feel sometimes when I eat a big meal, like I'm at a Steer Feedlot. And they're one of the places that has problems. So it has issues. That has been a center of outbreak. The other place is Salinas Valley. Let's take a lookie at this. Salinas Valley, as the map will show you, is the area of California. Above this would be the San Francisco area. And it's a valley that also has a river, a Salinas River that runs through it, that produces even more lettuce than even Yuma, Arizona. It produces 70% of the lettuce in the U.S. And because of the temperate weather, although it's not as hot as Yuma, it has 2 growing seasons, which means they plant lettuce twice a year. It's also the setting of John Steinbeck's East of Eden and Mice of Men. It's got an 80% Hispanic population. And it's another extremely American place. If you look around on Google Maps, which I like to do it from time to time, what you'll see is just these little towns with names like King City. And there's almost nothing there. And you'll notice the third thing you see on the Google Maps search of King City is a produce truck loading up some leafy greens. King City is a small town. It's got like one bar. It's got an elementary school. And it's got farmland around it. You can go up to Greenfield. What a name. And it's the same thing. A few restaurants, a store or two, a church, surrounded by farmland. Farms that are run by the Dole corporation by other large producers of lettuce and fruit and vegetable. They produce other things here besides lettuce. It used to be home to the Spreckles Sugar Company, owned by Klaus Spreckles. They make more than lettuce. Look at this man right here. This Klaus. Klaus Spreckles made the largest beet sugar refinery in 1899. It was the largest beet sugar refinery in the land. And in that time, he founded Spreckles, California. Just like all these other places. It's a census recognized, it's an unincorporated community and census designated place. It's not a municipality, it's not a city, it's not a town. It's really a manifestation of capitalism. It's saying we're only putting things here to support a business. This isn't really about anything else. None of these towns seem to be about much else besides having enough people to work and manage the farms. I think a quote from East of Eden sums up the energy of Salinas Valley. When a child first catches adults out, when it first walks into his little grave head, that adults do not always have divine intelligence, and their judgments are not always wise. Their thinking true, their sentence is just. His world falls into panic, desolation. The gods have fallen, and all safety is gone. And there is one thing about the fall of gods: they do not fall a little. They crash and shatter or sink deeply into the ground, into the green muck. It's a tedious job to build them up again. They never quite shine, and the child's world is never quite whole again. It's an aching kind of growing. And that is how I feel about this episode. That when you start looking at the places like Yuma, Arizona, and Salinas Valley that really should be the heart of America, the thing that feeds our great country, it sort of starts to shatter your image of what we do here in America. That, yeah, I can have a salad any day of the week, but at what cost? Is it really worth setting up these unincorporated communities? These vast farms that capture the government regulation to make sure they're never really looked through unless on their command. Is it worth that to have a salad any day of the week? To make sure no matter if you go to Sweet Green or Subway, that you can get exactly what you want at any moment. No matter how much it's abusing the environment, no matter what problems it causes. I don't know. But it does make you wonder about the system we've got set up for farming and the lettuce industry in the US. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you found it interesting and intriguing. And I do encourage you to go to Netflix and watch The Dirty Truth, the documentary that inspired this episode, and learn even more about the lawsuits and the challenges that come with the lettuce industry.